This is it's all very, very interesting. A Berube made the most interesting, and this is where we stop and we talk. The quote is, William Nylander will start camp at center.
Got it.
With Max on his wing.
Got it.
But everybody's assuming that's Max Domi. Nobody's for sure if it'll be Pacioretty. And I'm
That's
serious.
hilarious.
The quote is quite literally, Max will be on his wing.
That's really funny. Oh, the contract with Pacioretty already worth. That's awesome.
We cornered the market on Max's.
That's really, really, really funny. Good on Craig.
So, here's my question
That's
to
on
the two
purpose.
of you.
He did that on purpose.
I love the man. I love the man already. Here's my question to the two of you. Who do you think he actually means? Because we know that Domi and you could see a line with Domi, Matthews, Marner. Why not? So
Domi, Matthews, Marner. Oh yeah.
And
well, I wouldn't do it, but yeah.
You could see it though.
You could.
I'm assuming, guys, that Domi is the more likely candidate here.
We don't have to play the guessing game. He was talking about Max Domi.
He was talking about Max Domi because the quote was Max.
Yeah, but everybody else had the full quote.
Ah, that's so shit.
Yeah.
No, that would have been funny.
It's Max Domi.
Damn.
Okay. Now,
Damn.
How do we feel about, and this is last year, they've said, yesterday they reported that this will not be a half-hearted attempt to have William Nylander at center. And what's interesting about it is when the extension was signed, it became clear to everybody, hey, you can't have that many wingers making that much money, meaning two wingers making as much as they're making. If you have one winger making that and two centers, it might make a lot more sense.
Yeah, Nylander and Austin as like a 1-2 up the middle. Tavares ideally re-signing for a lot less. And I don't know, we'll see what happens with Marner. Let's say he signs for a similar number. Pause for laughter. That's more palatable than having two guys on the right wing.
Right.
I mean, it's harder to drive the bus from the wing. You know, and Nylander's already a pseudo center anyway.
Well, yeah, he does take face-offs, and he
sneakily plays
and you sometimes saw if he was with Tavares that he would, when he was engaged defensively, and that is a part of Willie's game. Is sometimes he's not. Sometimes, but it's a lot less.
Not great in his own end, but he plays incredible neutral zone defense, I think.
You could see him sometimes swoop in for where Tavares is thing. Now, what's interesting about this, guys, and Jesse, I want to, because you're the biggest William Nylander fan on the planet. Do you believe, because apparently Sheldon Keefe they asked him to try it. He wasn't committed. He tried it for like 2 games in the preseason and said, fuck this.
So frustrating.
So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on this one as a stand?
Yeah, this is the sticking point with this whole discussion is like, okay, one, are they going to try it wholeheartedly? Like, is this a real test for Willie at center? Because I was very adamant against it because they've tried it so many times.
They have to.
And it's never worked because they never stick to it. So is this finally, again, it's Groundhog Day, Willie at center. And then is William Nylander going to commit to the things that a centerman has to do? Is he going to play the other side of the ice, then cover all the areas that a center has to do? And is that going to be good enough? You know, are we going to see him do it? And then we're going to say, yeah, that works.
His takeaways are great.
Sure. Yeah. But he's doing that from the spot of a winger.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a different game playing the center role. So we have to see it in action, then does it work? And it's just, we've tried it before. So you gotta show me that it works this time. There's gotta be some convincing here, because if you tell me, hey, we're gonna do this thing, I was like, yeah, we did that and it failed. And you're like, but this time, I'm like, okay, so what's different? Show me what's different. Show me that it actually works. And that's I'm just in a wait and see mode with that.
With the takeaways in Willie, you can list any skill and he'll be elite.
Yeah.
I think with center, it's a lot more about discipline, right? Which he lacks.
Commitment.
He often lacks.
But I saw more of it last year than we've ever seen, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had his best season of his career last year.
Yeah,
and
for
he
sure.
would still, every now and then, just have this brutal shift, and Keefe benches him, and you're like, damn, that's like our probably second best player last year, and he's on the bench right now, and he kind of deserves to be. It wasn't a great position to be in.
Do you guys have an answer on like what's different this time? because they tried it in elimination game of a playoff.
Well, that's the fucking wrong time.
That was
to try
so
it.
stupid.
They tried it. They try it then, and then they try it the right time. They say preseason,
For 5 seconds.
training camp, Williams Center. Let's do it. It fails. So they've tried it in both instances where there's so much pressure and there's runway in the other one. So what's different this time?
So what needs to be different is you have a conversation. A lot of coaches get into the trap of winning tonight's game every night. And I mean, you should try to win every game. It should be everyone's goal to go 82-0, but it's not always going to work that way. The long-term success of the Leafs needs to be in their plans. And I think for Sheldon Keefe, he's like, well, we're down by 1, or it's a tie game, it's tight. I'm throwing Willie on the wing. Like, he would always go back to his comfort food. Like, even when he got the blender out, like, all right, this guy's going up there, and this guy, I'm taking this guy off the wing, and, all this stuff. Winning tonight's game in October of last year, he's like, I'm taking Willie off of center. They got to be willing to go through some pain here.
Well, I think, though, that this coach would have the leash to do it. And this is where...
Hey, I just got here!
I just got here. And but also, like, hey, Treliving, Shanahan, hired Berube. So Berube's got a few years to figure this out. And I think when you look at the salary cap situation, one of the major issues, and I think that a lot of people are like, this is why this can't work, is a center and 2 wingers at that price point is extremely painful to you just can't do it, right? Because I kept saying coming into camp, or I've said it since we started back up in September here, they're missing a center, they're missing a center, they're missing a center. Is it Min? Is it this? Is it Holmberg? Is it whatever?
They still might be.
Well, they still might be, but and people, slotting in Max Domi at center. No, I don't think he's going to do that. I think they need him up, making plays with the best players on this team, not trying to drive a line between 2 guys who may or may not, be defensive strong. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not Max's job. Especially with the rate he's paid at, like, I think Max does best when he's with the best.
He showed he could be a top 6 player.
100%. Yep. So William Nylander shifting into center and them here's the thing about learning is you can learn, but you need to be given time. And I think
did they say which wing?
They didn't say which wing.
He played mostly right with the Leafs.
So I look at Nylander at center and I think this solves a lot of the puzzle that we can't seem to figure out, which is how they're going to keep this group together, because they seem committed to doing that. If you have 2 centers that are that good, that you've got a 60 goal scoring top line center, and you got a second line center who's capable of 95 to 100 points in a year at his best, going into their prime, and then you've got a winger who's also one of the top, according to NHL.com, top 10 wingers in the league. I would put Marner up there a little bit further. Then that salary seems to make a lot more sense, especially with Tavares' salary decreasing or disappearing next year. And I look at Keefe, I think when you've been with a team for as long as he had, through the years that you have to remember what Keefe walked into. He walked into a defeated dressing room.
Yeah, it was brutal. That
he had to, like, pump full of helium to make him laugh again, right? And then he got training camp and then COVID. Like, what a shit end of the stick. And then he
was like 2-3 years in. He's like, I just got here.
Yeah, well, he developed, as we all do, preconceived notions about what a player's capabilities are. And sometimes it takes a new set of eyes and a new voice to go, hey, and I would imagine that Toronto management spoke to Nylander and spoke to his agent and said, if you want this term, we're signing you at the top of your value. If this is what you want, you will be playing center. Well, because we cannot justify this otherwise.
Look at it this way. Do the Leafs have someone who could replace John Tavares as the second line center in their system right now? No. Who's trading their second line center right now?
Nobody.
Well,
look at what Seattle just paid for Chandler Stevenson.
Right. Speaking of that, if you're gonna go out and get your second line center, you're going to be spending at least $8 million in free agency, and you're probably going to overpay. And they got to agree to go to your city. Or you take one of the most skilled players in hockey and you go, hey, what if you just and you shift them over,
like, is
to the position you drafted him at?
I want to do I don't want to do the Moneyball thing, a movie you can reference. It's like playing first base isn't that hard. It's extremely hard.
It's incredibly hard.
Right? There's that Scott Hatteberg scene. With Nylander, I don't see a player like him, and I say this for most of the top players in the game. I don't see a player like him being unable to do something like this. It's a question of commitment. And I think he made his commitment when he said, I want to stay in Toronto. I want to do an 8-year deal. I want to do it at this term. And so I think you probably have William Nylander on side with this. You probably have Craig Berube on side going, we have to make this work, so we will.
Yeah. Hey, Max,
he's got
can you
the
make
skill.
Willie work? I think it'll be okay.
I think that Craig Berube's faced bigger challenges than trying to get an extremely skilled player to play center properly.
Yep.
And it's going to take time and there'll be warts. But if they commit to this, I love this. I love this.
I feel like I'm the only person who remembers that we did this last year. Like
I know, but it was a different guy, right?
They have to stick.
I need to see it that they stick to it because it was September 20th last year, the day before training camp opens. We got all the headlines. William Nylander at center is an experiment worth making for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Leaf training camp takeaways: Nylander at center. Maple Leafs have discussed playing William Nylander at center. William Nylander is moving to center. What can it mean for the Leafs? Those are the headlines from September 20th, 2023.
And what happens then if we start the season and they're like, you know what? We're not going to play Willie at center.
That's what happened last year.
There's no justification for like a bunch of people in this organization having jobs.
Well, they're going to have jobs. Like
no, I know, but like, okay, so you're trying the same shit. Okay, we're going to have the same roster. We're also trying the same ideas, wacky ideas, and then we're also bailing on them early again. Like, and they can try this again. I actually, the position the team is in, I don't have a problem with it. No. Last year I was talking about it like, no, it's got to be dead and buried. But last year Willie showed a gear I did not know he had. Like, he's crazy good.
From the wing. But
yes,
the quotes from all the articles on September 20th, 2023 were that this was a long-term goal. I will quote Sheldon Keefe directly. He said, it's not going to be a one-off or a one-day thing or one preseason game, the Leafs bench boss said.
Well, he should have been fired earlier.
We want to give it some time.
No, you didn't.
So I just want us all to be cautioned that we're being fed the exact same narrative that we were last season, just by a different person. And by October 4th, when they went to their preseason game in Detroit and they tried some new bodies at center, they abandoned the Nylander experiment.
I think that has something to do with the fact of how Sheldon Keefe perceives Nylander. Now, Berube may come to the same conclusion. I completely grant you that. But sometimes, you know when you're growing up and your parents tell you something, hey, that's bad. And you're like, I'm not going to listen to you. You're my stupid parents. But then you got a cool uncle. You got a cool uncle or a cool aunt who's like, and they say it to you completely separately. Hey, like it's like my daughter with my aunt, my sister-in-law, Lauren.
Yes.
Lauren can get Everly to eat anything. I don't even try to. I go, Lauren, can you tell Everly to eat this? And she'll eat it.
You've told us, yeah.
I think that could be here. And I totally, Jesse, you nailed it. Absolutely, you're right. We have been fed this. But I can't see how the Toronto Maple Leafs can continue to expect to be successful if everything is not on the table. And so if player movement is not on the table, then player movement on the ice must be.
Those are dangerous words.
Is that fair? Is that a fair point?
Like,
if William Nylander to center is an everything's on the table situation.
Okay. If he starts preseason at center, and he's not still playing center by Halloween, I'm turning furniture.
Fair enough. And that's fair.
No, you need to... What the fuck, guys?
No, you're committing to
a thing.
You have to commit to this. And he has to be able to fuck up.
That's why I just want to see that.
Yes.
What you're asking for, I'm just saying, yes, okay, cool. Now deliver on your promise.
Even if it's not every
they're just
game.
Right now they're words that I've heard before.
Yeah.
Deliver on it, please.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking for.
The Leafs are just... listen, they have well earned the position they're in where nothing they say registers with anybody who's been paying any kind of attention.
I just got here.
Adam, I know you told me not to look at any of the quotes, so they would all be a surprise.
But you got one.
The one quote I saw, Brendan Shanahan, our goal is to win the Stanley Cup. Yeah, I know. I also profoundly don't think you're the guy for the job because that's all the evidence in front of me. Like, what the...
Now, if they go out and they win the cup, I think you'll be the happiest person going, I'm so glad I was wrong.
I'm so glad I was wrong, but right now, I'm standing in the middle of the desert waiting for an ice cream truck to show up, and I'm starting to think it's not coming.